The cardiovascular system. What we're going to do is walk through an introduction to the cardiovascular system before we start looking at each of the individual components within the system. So let's take a look at the system in terms of an overview. We have the fluid, which is blood. Remember, blood is always red due to the interaction between iron in the hemoglobin and oxygen in the blood. There's a four-chamber heart, which acts as a hydraulic pump or hydrostatic pump, moving the fluid through the vessels. The vessels are a closed network of vessels, which means that there's no real way to get material directly into or out of the tubes, in particular the fluid, with the exception of fenestrated and sinusoidal capillaries in distinct regions within the system itself. So let's take a look at the organs here. When we're talking about the organs, we're principally talking about the heart. Attached to the heart is a closed network of tubes which are muscularly ringed arteries and less muscularly ringed veins. The arteries and the veins are connected directly to the heart. Connecting the arteries and the veins is an open network of capillary beds within the tubes themselves. These capillary beds allow for movement of materials that can diffuse between the cardiovascular system and the tissues of the body. Within the arteries and within the veins, there's the fluid of blood, which contains the serum as well as the plasma. Within the serum, there are the red blood cells, RBCs, which we usually refer to as erythrocytes from here on out, and the white cells, the WBCs, which we will refer to as the leukocytes from here on out, along with various types of proteins, molecules of nutrients, chemical messengers, and metabolic wastes and or byproducts. There's a huge difference between a waste and a byproduct. A byproduct is some type of metabolite that can be used in further metabolic reactions that have been released by cells within the body. Whereas a waste product is a metabolite that serves no further metabolic use. So let's take a look at the cellular components within the blood itself. We have what are referred to as the granular leukocytes, which are the neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. We also have the lymphocytes, which include our T cells, our B cells, and what are referred to as A or natural killer cells, and monocytes, as well as thrombocytes, which form the platelets. All of these cells are various forms of leukocytes. And then we have the erythrocytes. The leukocytes we'll talk about further when we talk about immune response, whereas the erythrocytes we'll talk about further when we talk about blood. If we look at all of the components, we can see them as what's known as a blood smear. We see each of the types of granular leukocytes, as well as the lymphocytes, the B cells, and the T cells, as well as our monocytes. Notice that the vast majority of cells in this smear, or in this cluster of cells, are erythrocytes, and we'll talk about those proportions in a little while.